Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Brass Junkies. I am your host, Andrew Hitz, and today I am joined by my American colleague, Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you today?
I'm doing great, eh? Thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Today's guess is today's guess?
Guess?
What's your guess?
It's anyone's guess.
Today's guest is an impossibly friendly human. I'm struggling with English here. That's good.
It's
not like we have another interview.
Tuba, words.
We do have another interview right after this. Awesome. So today's guest is Tom McCaslin, who is the principal tuba of the Calgary Philharmonic and is impossibly friendly.
Truth.
He's like impossibly friendly. He's a complete and utter badass as a soloist, as a jazz player, as an orchestral player, as a teacher, and and he's like a humble dude.
Humanitarian, gardener, man about town, tailor, key grip,
Taylor. Yep, he's
phrenologist.
He's a bad mofo with a sewing machine, let me tell you. So, this is a great episode. I really, really enjoyed. I guess we should record the intro before I declare it a great episode. So, since I'm a little punchy. So, yeah, I had juries yesterday. You had juries. I also hosted the banddirector.com online stream from Illinois Superstate, which was 2 13-hour days in a row on Friday and Saturday, and travel day Sunday. Juries and paperwork all day yesterday. So, and now here we are this morning. It's I'm a little punchy.
Juries and paperwork is a really bad country song idea.
Yeah. That's how punchy I am. That really wasn't that funny. I mean, it was like kind of funny, but I laughed like it was really funny, and it just wasn't. But I digress. So we need to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting to, I almost said TEM. What the hell podcast am I on? I don't know either. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, which is similar to a baritone, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model Euphonium mouthpiece. Find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hey, everyone should go and send Mike Parker an email and say that you keep hearing that he has euphonium mouthpieces available, and ask him when he's going to have baritone mouthpieces available.
Good idea.
Seems like everyone should go to parkermouthpieces.com and hit on contact, and then send Michael an email. So, and
ask if he has double bell euphonium mouthpieces, and if they come with 2 different cups. That's a good idea.
That's pretty. Seems like we should send everyone on an email Michael Parker journey each week.
I think you're right. That's a new feature.
So this week, let's only ask him about the baritone. We'll do double bell next time. So
that's baritone only.
Good. There we go. And I'm not going to tell him this, because if he doesn't listen, I'm gonna eventually get a text like a WTF. So that'd be good. So, all right, and we need to Pappert people.
Pappert people, thank you very much to the Mary Pappert School of Music at Duquesne University in beautiful and sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for supporting this show. You can find out more about what is happening in the brass area at Duquesne University by clicking on the link below. And actually, there's the news, if you haven't heard it, is that I am officially done at Duquesne, and a fantastic Lithuanian young euphonium soloist and teacher named Algirdas Matonas, who recently completed a degree with me at Carnegie Mellon, is taking over the euphonium studio, and James Gorley of the River City Brass and Philip Jones and a bajillion other really cool things is picking up some tuba students and running the tuba ensemble. So you can find out more about the going on by clicking on the link below. And very, 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 very special thanks to Jim. Jim That stain's never coming out, Nova. No?
I'm still laughing at
He's still
you called him Bubble Butt.
Bubble Butt. And I saw him and he said people were giving him a hard time. And then I apologized. And then I saw him again. And he was like, they weren't really upset. You didn't have to apologize. So sorry, but that stain's never coming out.
That, if I remember correctly, you were once test driving a car.
Yeah,
where you
right.
were with someone that did, and the car salesman said, "Do you have any more questions?" And you said,
"How do you get bloodstain out of carpeting?" And actually, the other person in the car with me is my now boss, who was my then boss with the River City Brass, Dennis Caldwell, who's the head of the school at Carnegie Mellon. He was in the back seat. And the guy he didn't quite know what to do about that.
That's pretty good.
And that was actually the same. I test drove a Ford, and the guy said that it had 8 cup holders in it. And Dennis said, well, with 8 cup holders, it should come with a porta potty. And the guy was like, no, I don't think they're going to come with a porta potty. And I said, Ford has these SUVs. There's the Ford Escape, and then the next one up is the Explorer, and then there's a bigger one called the Ford Excursion. I said Ford should have one that's even bigger than that. I swear to God, I said this to this guy. Should have one even bigger than that and call it the Ford Excessive. And he said, no, I don't think. I think that the Excursion is going to be the biggest one. Okay. Thank you. Good luck to you, sir.
So you had an automaton, is what you had.
I did. That's very awesome. Funny. Thank you for your time. Will you buy a Ford?
I don't think we've ever done that for another customer, but I will check with my manager while I actually just go smoke a cigarette.
That's pretty good.
Oh, I love car salesmen. So they're great. So, all right. Well, do we have anything else before we do?
We do.
Yeah. Patreon,
turns out.
iTunes. I'm a mess. Go, Lance. Just go.
So if you would like to support
leave.
the show. Oh, goodbye.
Okay, come back.
Hang on. Okay, here I am. Hi, what are we doing?
You're going to talk about Patreon, I think.
Patreon is a tangible, specific way for you to support the show in a financial manner. We have recently we leapt right past our $100 per episode goal.
Yeah, we vaulted past it.
We did indeed. So this summer, we're actually going to be recording Andrew and me playing trumpets, which will be something.
That's going to leave
I don't know what. So, but if you would like to contribute to helping offset the cost of the show, that would be fantastic. And if you go to Patreon, Patreon /The Brass Junkies, you can contribute as little as $1 per episode, and you can set an upper limit on how much you'd like to give in any given month or in any given year. And there are a variety of incentives if you contribute at different levels. And the other enticement that we are throwing your way is that we record a series of bonus episodes with each of our guests. We have over 20 bonus episodes up there right now. Additionally, Andrew and I record some special content that is brass related, not an interview per se, but just sort of a deep dive into some kind of concept. And those are all available to any of our Patreon patrons. And as soon as you become a patron, all of those back recordings become available to you.
So to be clear, all the bonus episodes are available to everyone, and then the other content kicks in at the $3 per episode level. So, but otherwise, you were right.
I know a couple things, but just only a couple.
So we have to give we love $1 donations. Like if I could choose between having 10 people donating $100 per episode, which that would be I would love to experience what that feels like. But I would rather have 1,000 people giving $1 than I would 10 people getting, giving 100. But
I would prefer both. Option C, which is both of those things.
That's fair. But Allison Schweitzer donated $20 an episode, like just came out of nowhere. She is a horn player, and she directs a handbell choir. She's an arts enthusiast, and she's a nonprofit devotee, and she also likes financially supporting Average at Best podcasts. So that's I I like Allison. So thank you,
and
Allison.
me both. Thank you very much.
I saw I saw that email come through. I was like, holy crap, $20 an episode. So yeah, that's incredibly, that's incredibly generous. So, but again, if you got $1 an episode and then you get and Tom's episode was great. I shared a time when Sam Palafian may or may not have cursed me out in a lesson, which had me pumping my fists and screaming, yeah. And also, Tom went into his solo CDs and just recordings, and it was fascinating. Yeah, really good stuff. So. And also, for everybody that's gone to iTunes and left us a rating and a review, thank you. We are really close to our goal of 100 ratings. We are at 97 ratings right now. So
Come on, people.
Yeah, 3 more people. Just take like a moment to go to iTunes. There's a link in the show notes. And we're also at 55 reviews, which it's amazing if you can leave both. So thank you to our patrons, and thank you to everybody who's taken the time to leave us a rating or review on iTunes, and also to anybody who has shared it with a friend or posted to social media, or we really do appreciate it. So I think that now we're actually done.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think so. So, all right. Well, without further ado, let's get to our conversation with Tom McCaslin of the Calgary Philharmonic. And today on the Brass Junkies, we are joined by Canadian wonder tubist Tom McCaslin. Tom, how are you?
I am fantastic. Andrew, how are you?
I'm great. How is the weather in Calgary currently?
It is a beautiful, beautiful day. 70 degrees out for you Americans, mid-20s for us Canadians.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it's like in the 70s for anybody, but
no, just for you Americans.
We always make people from other countries feel incredibly welcome here. So I would expect the same treatment from you. It'd be pretty good if you could actually change the weather on Americans. That's pretty good. Hey, you know what I just thought of, Lance?
No, I do not, Andrew. Why don't you tell me what it is that you just thought?
I just thought of, I don't even remember what was the city that we were in Ontario, right on the water that was right across from Michigan, and we had a gig, and anyway, one of our bandmates may or may not have accidentally left his suit coat in Canada. And it was like you could have swam there in 45 seconds, but he had to wait in line and then explain that he had to just go like 2 blocks, and it was a big ordeal. And in a road band, you rooting.
It was Sarnia. Sarnia.
Yes.
Sarnia.
It's a reason for entrance into Canada to get my pants.
That was it. It was pants. You're right. It wasn't coat. It was pants. Yes, it was like coat. You could just like, let's just do no coats. But you can't be like, hey guys, you do me a favor. Can we go no pants? And in a road band, after a while, and by after a while I mean like a week, like you start rooting against each other. Not like actual harm, but it's like, that's awesome that my bandmate is really upset because he left his pants in Canada. So yeah, it's kind of terrible. So I mean, Lance wasn't that way. He always maintained a positive attitude, didn't you, Lance?
I absolutely did.
All right, enough about Tom. Let's talk about our road stories some more.
The lesser-known Tony Bennett tune. I left my pants in Sarnia, Canada.
There you go. Has the Calgary Phil ever played that Tony Bennett tune, Tom?
I haven't been on that gig. If it's it'll probably come around soon enough.
It's a huge tuba solo in that one.
I bet.
Yeah. And it says right in the score you're supposed to not wear pants. So yeah, it's, which is like hosting a podcast. But anyway, so how long have you been the principal tuba in the Calgary Philharmonic?
I am about done my second season here in Calgary.
And you are from Canada originally.
I'm originally from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, which is one province over. Yeah, I said it. Regina, Saskatchewan.
Oh, no, it was the Saskatchewan part.
Oh, my bad.
Isn't Saskatchewan where Pete Meekin lives right now, Lance? Or Tom or anybody? I don't assume that you know him just because he's Canadian, but it's like it's brass circles. So there's a couple of overlaps there in the Venn diagram.
I know a Canadian. Do you know him?
Pete was living there, but he now lives in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Oh, yeah. Home of the Jets. That's you go. Right. There you go. So he's like moving around. Look at him. He's all like metropolitan now in Winnipeg.
That's right.
There you go. So, have you ever, I'm going to rephrase this, not have you ever, how many times have you had an American say, oh, you're from Canada, do you know my friend blank?
Many times. Although I'll say...
just not that bright. You have to be patient.
In the music world, however, it's not that uncommon for me to actually know the person that they're talking about.
Sure.
Especially musicians that have spent time in the States, either at schools or festivals, and the brass world is super small. But for like regular friends, it's a pretty wide country,
When I was in high school, I was in a wind ensemble, and one of the kids, we were in Japan, and we were doing a side by side with an international group, and one of the tuba players was from Canada, and one of the tuba players in the group I was with said, "Oh, you're from Canada? Is it cold there?" which was and this guy was he was Canadian. He was friendly. He said, "Sometimes."
Yeah. That's pretty accurate. Yeah.
I think I took over for him. I was like, "You dumbass!" It's like, come on. Let's try a little harder here. So, what was it like winning a major gig like that back in your home country?
Exhilarating, I guess, is probably the word that comes to mind, and a little bit of relief. Been taking auditions for a long time, and so to have finally gotten to the very end and being the person called, along with it being in the country I'm from and in a city where my brother lives and I have family very close. It all just sort of came together, and it was it was fantastic. One of the best feelings you're probably ever going to get.
Did you play better than you usually did, or did things just fall right, or was it a combination of the two, or what was your take on how things went down?
Well, I mean, I certainly felt great with how I played. I think the last couple auditions that I had taken had created a little bit of momentum and a ramp moving forward. But I really think that the big difference was how I prepared for it. And I think my preparation for that audition was as good as any audition I've taken, probably going back to the ones that I was preparing while I was at Arizona State and studying with Sam Palafian. So yeah, it was. I felt good with it with every round that I played, and was very comfortable. But it was a long process to get there, so it wasn't like, oh, I got lucky today. It was a lot of work.
How would you say your audition prep evolved over the years to this peak? Like, what were the kind of key stepping stones?
Well, I didn't have success, the kind of success I really wanted on my own when I was finished with grad school, until my ears got a lot better. I had the benefit when I was studying with Sam during my master's degree of taking 6 auditions in 2 years. And during the summers, I was the Tanglewood Fellow. And so auditions were sort of what was happening at that time. And I took every opportunity. And basically Sam was my ears, and he was telling me what to fix and what to change in 2 lessons a week. And then I left grad school and I sort of took a step back, and it took a while before my ears caught up to where I could really hear everything that needed to be changed and fixed, and could also hear what was going well and what I didn't have to spend time working on. So by the time I got to the Calgary audition, I really put a premium on recording everything that I played in preparation for that audition. I think I have 84 hours of recordings on my hard drive somewhere of all the sessions that I did leading up to it. And then I would listen to all those sessions and make notes. And I think that's sort of what was peaking, that I could actually hear what needed to be fixed and then attempt to do that.
What level of there's an implied level of trust or faith in these are things that I know that I can do. I think young players are resistant to I should just touch this thing again, even though I know I can do it. I should touch it again, and
right.
Instead of just having the faith. Did that come naturally to you? Is that another thing that you developed, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, trust is a funny thing when it comes to playing a musical instrument, and there's always that hesitation backstage, like to pick up the horn one more time to start whatever excerpt or whatever piece, just so you have that confidence that it's going to be there. So that takes a long time to get rid of. I'm not sure I completely am away from that. I mean, I think there's always that little voice that wonders, is it going to be there when it needs to be? But I do think that putting yourself in motion, taking a good breath, and always using the same proper mechanics with playing starts to sort of get rid of those thoughts in your brain, and you start to think about music, to move ahead. So, and I think that's something that I still struggle with, honestly. However, I mean, in listening to all the preparation stuff that I was doing, I would focus more on the negatives than the positives. So, listening for time, listening for intonation, and then spending a lot of time tweaking stuff. So I wasn't just repeating what felt good in the practice room.
Mm-hmm. Was there a particular system that you were using, or you just sort of, it was just, get back in there and peel back another level?
Well, I mean, I guess it sort of developed into my own system. When I was preparing for auditions with Sam, the big audition that was announced right when I started my master's degree was Boston. And I had done the Tanglewood Music Festival the summer before. And so obviously that was like the dream job, being out at Tanglewood and hearing the BSO every week was like, okay, that's the gig I really want. And so when we started preparing for that audition, we made cards of all the excerpts and basically divided everything into two groups, excerpts that I was still learning, and then excerpts that I was ready to perform and tweak. And I think, the first couple of weeks that we did that, there were no excerpts in the ready to perform yet. So I would play the excerpts down, and he would make notes about what needed to be changed and improved upon in each excerpt. And then I would go to work, and then over time, everything went from the B list to the A list. And then I sort of took that same philosophy. And then as the audition got closer, I found a randomizer app that's designed for teachers so they can call on every student equally. And I put all the excerpts in that app, and then I would play different permutations of rounds of excerpts in my practice sessions. Sometimes I would do groups of 5 or groups of 4, and then sometimes getting closer to the audition, I would do longer rounds of excerpts, like 7 or 8, to sort of duplicate what you'd be expected to play in a final round to build up some more endurance. So yeah, it's sort of evolved from that. I know Mike Roylance has a similar system that involves putting random excerpts in different envelopes, sort of with that same idea that this is your most likely set of excerpts that you're going to have to play, followed by excerpts that aren't asked as often. So, and with a tuba audition, there's so few excerpts that come up that it's pretty evident which excerpts you really, really have to know well for every audition.
We were in, I had juries yesterday at Carnegie Mellon, and there were 5 of us on the panel, and it was a trombone player, brought in a list of excerpts, and her teacher, Becky Cherian, was like, well, let's pick these in a random order. And just sort of by chance, the first guy, we were getting punchy as well, that didn't help, picked the first excerpt that was listed. And then just to be a dink, then the second person picked this. So we actually just went down the list, which was kind of perfect because she was 100% sure that was the only order she wasn't going to play them in. Kind of fried her head a little bit. Wait a minute, what?
That's great. I would also do a round almost every day of what I considered to be the most likely first round excerpts. So for a tuba audition, that's The Ride of the Valkyries, Meistersinger, Mahler 1, Hungarian March, Prokofiev 5. I'm not sure there's an audition I've taken where I haven't had to play those excerpts. So I really wanted to make sure that those excerpts were the best out of the bunch. Like, I wanted to have the best ride at the audition. I wanted to have the best Meistersinger at the audition. Not that I didn't want anything else not to be the best, but I mean, I really wanted those to stand out. I was pretty determined, I guess.
Can we go back to the mental prep a little bit more? Sure. And do you use some sort of talk method, or it sounds like, I mean, you mentioned that you initiate some sort of physical thing to kind of override any chatter that's going on in your head. Yeah. Do you do anything else like that, or is it always a physical thing, or what else is in the toolbox there?
Well, I mean, the day of the audition, and I've learned this for myself over time, that I need to sort of put myself in a cocoon. And a lot of players at auditions take that opportunity to play catch up time with friends they haven't seen for a while, or to be very social. And I just don't play well in that circumstance if I'm being overtly social. And I've learned that over time, that I have to just basically put myself in a silent place. So
you're also not very personal.
No. I mean, I generally hate people. So it makes that part easy, I guess.
Super hard to get along.
But I would take noise canceling headphones and just sort of sequester myself wherever I could in either the green room or the warm-up room that they give you, to basically be in my own space, to know what to control as much as I can about my mental state. I think I find when I'm being social and that highly elevated environment, that I need to have more control over what's going on through my head. Yeah.
Well, so then what do you curate? I mean, so now you have silence, and then do you curate do you listen to music, or do you just sit in the silence? And then if you do, then what's going on in your head? You've blocked everything. You've blocked the external distractions out, but what do you do about the internal distractions?
Yeah. I mean, for Calgary, I was listening to sports podcasts. A big fan of the Bill Simmons podcast. So I was listening to that backstage, and music. Just a lot of pop music, stuff that's not related to the task at hand at all. So when it's go time, then I can just sort of go for it and not be analyzing it the entire time I'm waiting to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's funny. I know players that listen to excerpts or classical music in the car all the time. I'm either listening to podcasts or sports talk radio, or nothing at all when I'm driving to and from the hall, to sort of prepare myself to perform at the highest level. And that's just sort of, I mean, the thing that I've discovered over time that I need to do is, like, I just need to clear my head to be able to engage it at the highest level and concentrate. And I have a hard time not analyzing stuff that I listen to, because that's, part of my job.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm putting my ears in that space, then I'm not as concentrated when I'm going to perform, I guess.
Well, it goes back to the trust issue. Yeah. I mean, at the point that you're driving to the audition or to the concert, if the preparation isn't done, there's no amount of worry that's going to help you all of a sudden be prepared.
Correct. Yep. That's exactly right. You're not going to be able to think of the magic, solution on the way to the gig. I mean, it is what it is.
Second and third valve.
That's right.
That's what I've been doing wrong.
One more listen to the Gene excerpt CD, and you're gonna finally figure out like what the note weight should be for Prokofiev 5.
I've been listening to that CD for 20 years, and I still haven't figured out all the secrets.
Can you, so that's, first of all, I want to put in a plug, and we're going to put this in the show notes, is that many moons ago when I taught at George Mason University, I had a graduate euphonium major who Boston Brass was at Mason. We were rehearsing. I think we played a concert too. But anyway, Lance agreed to give this kid a lesson. He was a graduate performance major, and 2 minutes in, it was like gold. So I actually pulled out my phone and recorded the rest of it. And the sound quality isn't great; it's totally passable. But I threw that up on my personal SoundCloud page, which has almost nothing on it. But it's like a 45 or 50-minute talk that Lance gave to this kid on how he prepared for the Air Force Band audition.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Lance, we should maybe even release that sometime as like a Brass Junkies episode.
Oh yeah,
actually,
we can do that. Or a bonus thing.
Yep, exactly. But if you are preparing for auditions, you need to go and check this out because it's none of the specifics were the same as what Tom just said. And Lance goes deep because that's what I asked him to do. but it's the same thing. I mean, it's like just really, really intentional. That's the word I always come back to with the most successful people in our industry, either entrepreneurs or people with auditions or whatever. But it's just, like your system and just what you executed. You weren't just working hard. I mean, yes, you were working hard, but it sounds like you from day one, you had a plan. And then you even had the self-awareness to recognize that after you left grad school, that you took a little bit of a step backwards in terms of how clear your plan was. And then had the self-awareness to identify that and then to tweak it and then to get just as good, if not better than you were before, and then kept getting close. And, I hear somebody talk, lead us through what you just did. And it's like, well, yeah, and I wasn't. So you're one of the best tuba players I've ever heard. And solo wise, it's stupid what you can do. But so I wasn't surprised when I heard that you won the audition. But you talk about your process, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't think anybody listening is like, oh, so he got lucky. I mean, it's like it's I love getting under the hood like that. Even though I took one orchestral audition, the Oregon Symphony. I didn't advance. I was young, and then I took one brass quintet audition, which I won, and that is the last audition I'm ever taking.
Wow,
so,
good for you.
So it's not, yeah. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to be hanging out in the orchestral world for a total of like 3 to 4 weeks a year, and then go and beat Tom McCaslin and Aubrey Ford and and Seth Horner and Seth Cook and all of you guys. That's not going to happen. So, but it's still fascinating for me to hear the process that goes into you guys winning auditions. So thank you for sharing that with us. Can you talk a little bit more about studying with Sam and what that was like?
Yeah, I mean, it's life-changing. And I think that Sam has this ability to bring the best out of everybody and to provide some clarity with younger people. I mean, mainly college kids with where they want to go with their passion and with their art and with their music making. I first heard Sam when I was in high school. My dad was a brilliant businessman and traveled a lot when I was a kid. And when I was in high school, he started bringing me back CDs. He frequently would go to Toronto, and at the time, Toronto had one of the only really big music stores in Canada that had a selection of music where you could find tuba CDs. And so my dad came back from a business trip, and he had found Sam's first Travelin' Light CD.
Nice.
And so I put that on, and it was just life-changing. I mean, I had heard Roger Bobo solo CDs before, and I'd heard some Harvey Phillips things, and I studied with an amazing tuba player in high school, but I had never heard someone play jazz like that on the tuba. And I was just absolutely blown away. So I was hooked for life. I knew I wanted to pick that man's brain and to hear more and just to soak up everything that he had to offer. So I came close to going to Arizona State for my undergrad. But that didn't work out for financial reasons. They had a marching band scholarship, and I just didn't want to have to be in marching band.
What year would that have been?
1997.
I would have been your teacher, one of your two teachers, if you had come then. I would have had so much to teach you.
Well,
so,
and I know that the story goes that Deanna was listening through audition tapes that were sent to Sam. And I didn't audition live. I sent a tape. It was a long way to travel from Canada. And I know that Deanna listened to the tape one night, I think with Kelly Thomas, if he was there at the same time as you were, Andrew.
We both got there in the fall of 97.
In the fall of 97. Okay. And anyways, then Deanna told Sam about the tape. Then he listened to it, and then he gave me a call. And it was very, very late in the audition season. And so at that point, money was hard to come by. So I was a little bummed because, Sam was, someone that I was really looking up to and wanting to pursue. So when it came time for master's degree, Arizona State was high on my list. I'd studied a little bit with Pat Sheridan privately too, and he was in Arizona. And so, both of them being there was a big thing for me. Right. So I'd gone to Tanglewood the summer before and came to Arizona State with sort of these lofty plans of wanting to study a lot of jazz and classical with Sam. And how things ended up being is we basically focused on audition preparation and solo playing the entire time I was there. I still have all of my jazz materials, and that has now sort of become my practice and study with him via long distance, which is, a lifelong study to be able to play creatively without, any music in front of you. Sure. And that's awesome. So there's life lessons there. But studying with Sam was just fantastic. I had 2 lessons a week. We did warm-up class every morning. We had scale class on Mondays, and we had studio class on Fridays. So, I saw that man for 2 years more than I saw probably any friends that I met or my girlfriend, who's my now wife, during those 2 years. So yeah,
you were married to Sam before you were actually married.
That's right. He's my first wife.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when did you start grad school there?
Oh, it was 2002.
2002.
Yeah. And it's, the thing that I wasn't prepared for with going to Arizona State is I expected there to be an entire studio of tuba players that were going to be taking the Boston Symphony audition, and right. When I got there, the studio wasn't that at all. It was made up of music ed majors and some performance majors and double majors and people that were taking lessons for minors. But the level that everyone was pushing themselves towards was higher than anywhere I'd been before. Right. And that was really inspiring to me that it wasn't this tuba factory with one goal, the gig or bust. It was really spending dedicated time with each student and figuring out, what direction they needed and wanted to go. And looking back, I think the students that were there those 2 years are by far the most successful students that I was surrounded by in terms of, having professional success in whatever direction they ended up heading.
Yeah, I really took for granted the lack of a tuba factory thing, because Northwestern was the exact same way as well, where it just wasn't. Both Rex and Sam are just really so great at teaching the kid that is in front of them and not, telling you, oh, by the way, Tom, this is the track you need to go.
Right.
So, taking input, seeing who the human is in front of them, where their interests lie, and then, shoving them down that path as hard as they can. Yeah,
it was awesome. And the common thread, we all got along so well. And there was just this common ideal of pursuing this idea of music at the highest level that you could, and that right. That's rare. You don't find that everywhere. And so, studying with Sam was just awesome. And then later on, I got to do both my CD projects with him. And that was invaluable. That was a huge learning curve for me. And really after the second disc, that's the first time I felt like, okay, now I'm starting to hear things that he's hearing too, that a right. long time ago would have gone over my head. And that was huge for my development.
First time I had to produce a recording session, the first person I called, was Sam. Immediately, Yep. I was like, actually, I texted him. I was like, hey, man, do you have some tips on, producing a recording session? And then my phone rang like 8 seconds later. So, and then and I sat down fast at my computer because I knew, and sure enough, it was like, 10 minutes that a normal professor would probably take like 3 weeks to spit out all that he just did. And it was just like, boom, 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 boom. He's like, your main job is actually managing humans.
Yes.
because if it's a solo recording, that person like has a love-hate relationship with themselves, and then if it's a group, two people want to kill each other. Sometimes outwardly, other times inwardly. It's like, and then and just talking about everything. I mean, I still have those notes today, and I've now done it more than once, and sure enough, of course, he was dead on accurate, like every time. So what's the most memorable moment that you had in a lesson with Sam? Does anything pop into your head?
Well, I can remember Christmas of my first year at Arizona State. The Boston audition was in January, and I was so into my preparation track that I decided not to go home for Christmas and stayed in Arizona. And they closed the school down during Christmas, so you couldn't get into play, and there was no back doors, no secret keys. Like it was shut. Even the teachers weren't getting in. So on Christmas Day, for an hour and a half, Sam was in my living room in my apartment, and we were playing tuba excerpts on Christmas. And in between rounds,
nothing celebrates the birth of Jesus like the ride.
And after we finished, I got a great lesson from Sam on how to prepare a turkey. In Canada, we traditionally cook.
Yeah, man, go get yourself a butterball.
This is where you want to put the olive oil.
You got to thaw it out. In Arizona, it takes about 2 hours on your back porch.
So Christmas Day 2002, we were putting olive oil and salt and pepper on the turkey and getting it ready for Christmas dinner. So that was definitely memorable.
Wow. There you go. You know what I did on Christmas Day 2002? I flew with I flew with 5 of my friends to Amsterdam to spend 6 days. So, but that's going to be that's the end of that story. So,
I'm trying to get the note right. So audition prep followed by turkey prep.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So let me back up a second. Well, I guess this is tangential, which is what not every studio has that sense of camaraderie or support from within the studio. And even some studios don't have that all the time. So there are times when you just have the right sort of people there. But what do you think goes into creating an environment like that? What are the qualities of either the school or the teacher or the other people in the studio? So if you were trying to reverse engineer this, how might you do that?
Well, I mean, when I was recruiting and teaching at East Carolina University, I was always way more interested in the quality of kid that I was meeting, and more than the quality of their playing per se at that first meeting, whether that was at the audition or during a meeting before the audition day, and really looking for good people that were honest and wanting to come to the school for the right reasons, and just didn't want to come to be better than the current first chair and wind ensemble, and that their goals and aspirations were much higher and longer than what they were going to accomplish during their 4 years at the school. So those are the qualities that I would sort of look for. I can remember having a lesson with a student before his audition, and we worked for an hour and finished. And then I said, "Do you have any questions?" And he said, "Yeah, actually, I have 4." And I was like, "Oh, this is the kind of kid I like." Not only were they good questions, but I mean, he had them in his head that he had been saving, during that hour, and they were very astute and they were to the point. And that was the kind of kid that I want to work with. That's curious and that is really listening to the point of questioning what you're preaching in a good way, not someone who's just being confrontational for the sake of it. But those are the types of kids that really interest me, and I was lucky that I had a couple of great groups of undergrads and grad students, and finding grad students to come in who have leadership qualities that are going to be positive role models, so the younger kids aren't just being competitive and allowing the dark sides to come out. So it also is a bit of luck, I mean, the personalities that music students have can be competitive, and so you're not always going to have the happiest bunch. But I think if you're honest and you're intelligent about, what you're trying to do, that the vibe can sort of manifest itself.
I think you're right. I didn't know how to answer that question, and you just answered it for me, because that's, I guess, exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
It's the who of it. And if you do that right, well, and it's, sometimes I think it's easy to get wrapped up in, I need this many players. It's like a more of a numbers game. And since I've started relaxing about the numbers, I don't have to really worry about the studio size. Whatever studio size there is fine with my boss. So now it can really be that. And I get hit up by students. Some of them want to go get a military band gig, and I tell them that I can get them ready for that, but that there's maybe some better places in the country to go find that. And if you want to do something weird, then I'm your guy. If you got an idea you don't know how to execute, then I'm your guy. If you just want to go explore and be creative and find a way to live indoors and eat food interestingly, then I'm your guy.
Right.
Then you just feel a lot better than trying to grab every student that comes through the door just because they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say
important.
The other thing that was really important during my development at Arizona State, and then that I took as a college teacher, and that I got from Roger Bobo when I studied with him for a year, was the studio class hour. And at Arizona State, it was every Friday, and it was sort of relaxed, but everybody knew that they could be called on to play. And Sam would always start the comments, and they had to be constructive and positive to help whoever was on stage. And when I started my full-time college teaching career, I immediately started that. And I told them all, like, you guys are all probably going to play every Friday, so be prepared. And everyone has to participate, and everybody has to give a comment every Friday. And the comment has to be constructive and helpful. Like if you're in front of your band, you can't get in front of your band and just say that they suck all the time, because you're not going to have much of a band. So you have to be positive, but you have to help them improve. And that's hard for a lot of 18-year-olds. The first couple of weeks of college, where they've maybe never played a solo in front of anybody, and now they're having to get up and play what they're preparing in lessons for all of their colleagues. But once you sort of get that environment going, and there's that arena of trust, there's that word again, trust, then the vibe really becomes something special. In Switzerland, we would do it Friday morning starting at 9:00, and everyone had to play every week. And we had a studio accompanist that we got to rehearse with as well. So everyone was basically performing, full pieces. And we would go as long as it took for everyone to play, plus comments.
Wow.
So sometimes those studio classes would last 3 hours, and sometimes they would last 4 hours.
Wow.
But when we finished, then it was party time, and we all went out to eat together, and Roger would always come, and it was just a real supportive, safe atmosphere. It got really contentious because we had 13 tuba players the year I was there from all over the world. And it was very competitive. But at the same time, when that was done, we could all support each other and have a real good time. So I think that helps, but you do have to get lucky sometimes to get the perfect group of kids. But I'm not sure if that ever really happens.
The first day of the year, every year at Northwestern, the first studio class, Rex Martin would always, at least in my 4 years there, would always out loud say that it was, that he was going to demand on a loving and nurturing and supportive environment, and that life is way too short for anything else, and that you don't need to be best friends, but that, that his goal was that 10 years from now that you run into somebody else in the studio at an audition, and that's a relief that, oh, there's Tom, and not like, oh, awesome, there's that guy.
Right.
So, and there was one person in my 4 years who didn't really fit in, and not like as an outsider, just like the attitude wasn't really aligned with everything else. And and Rex always got out ahead of it. I mean, it was a grad student, so he was only there for half of my time, but and that guy's actually gone on to have some success, but yeah, it was like, but Rex kind of like was the one that always dealt with it.
Right.
He never, and Sam wasn't quite as overt about it, but led just as much by example.
Yeah.
There was one person during my 2.5 years at ASU that also didn't really, wasn't always being a team player. And I saw Sam, take that guy out a couple of times just because, because he needed to.
Yeah.
It was like, and nothing gratuitous or, and not just to set an example, but just like, nope, we don't do that here.
Right.
That's right.
So this is my studio. We don't do that here. You what?
It's just like an episode of The Dog Whisperer.
Yep.
When you get a group of dogs together, I mean, it's like if there's one that's not acting like the rest of the pack, the pack is going to let them know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
It smells similar.
Hey, man. Hey, that's not nice.
I live there. What are you
I
talking
showered
about?
this morning. I'm even wearing deodorant. Speed stick. I smell good, dude.
Right.
I'm speechless.
Sorry.
I really miss having a colleague, and we may or may not have had a colleague in Boston Brass when you could tell if that guy had been in an elevator within the last 45 minutes.
Oh yeah.
That was always. It's really fun to take deep breaths for a living standing next to that. So I always put the perfect amount of cologne or strong aftershave on for any rehearsal or gig, which is absolutely none. Zero, not a drop. I don't even walk through the goddamn perfume counters of a department store. Just don't go near it. So, but anyway, all right, I'm off the soapbox. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm back. We're cool. Cool. Let's have Tom talk more. He's nice.
And scene.
So, do you? And I know that you miss the students, that you miss the humans. Do you miss the actual teaching?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I miss the arc of the semester with students and seeing the progress. Working through the struggles, seeing the Oktoberfest performance, working towards the jury, looking back, seeing where they've, come after their freshman year. Really miss the handshake and the hug when they graduate after 4 years. That was always a real highlight. Was seeing the kids walk across the stage, and also just the overall dissection of figuring out, what's going to help this student figure it out so they can go make the progress on their own. And that those light bulb moments are so fun as a teacher. And the sort of teaching I'm doing right now in Calgary is mostly all clinic work, where I come in and work for an hour with a section or with some students. I'm doing a lot of teaching in Banff with a lot of schools that come for school trips, and doing that type of work too. And it's not the same sort of long-term progress, obviously. 3 hours with a group of kids is nothing like 4 years. So yeah, it's been interesting leaving that world behind for a couple of years.
Sack of Nick Lance. One of the highlights of Lance's.
That's right.
One of the highlights of Lance's career happened in Banff.
Oh,
yeah, he
so
was.
Many do.
You play.
That's right. We were at the ITG, and our good pal Jens Lindemann, maybe you've heard of him.
Yes.
Order of Canada awardee.
I think he's on the $10 bill, actually.
That's pretty good. There's an exchange rate joke in there somewhere, too.
Yeah, there was. I went there too, and I was like, I can't quite nail it, so I'm just going to move on.
$10. What do you need $5 for? So he said, "Hey, you gonna go play the bass trumpet for me, eh?" That's my Jens impression. You like it? I'm cool and I have a Porsche, eh?
Spot on.
Very accurate.
Anyway, so he, I played on this piece that it was for trumpet ensemble, and there were a couple of bass trumpet parts, and so I played bass trumpet because Andrew and I were the bulk of the low brass people at the ITG, which was also entertaining. And there was a premiere of a piece that was very interesting. And so I didn't give them any explanation as to why I just told Andrew and Chris Castellanos that they needed to come to this concert. And there was like this spoken word aspect to the piece, and it was very trippy. And there was I can't even remember. The sack of knick-knack is the thing, because they kept talking about the main character taking out his sack of knick-knack, doing a variety of things with his sack of knick-knack. And it had the desired effect of, I think both Andrew and Chris ended up laying on the floor of the auditorium at the back of the hall, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, we were watching we were watching the Stanley Cup Finals, in the bar.
Oh yeah,
like Detroit. And
you guys got to come here.
Oh yeah, and then we were like, oh wait, we got to go. So we went like straight from the bar to standing in the back of this packed hall, and he's like making blowing noise, and I'm way into I'm into stuff where you blow in the wrong end, like all that stuff. But like,
wait, we're talking about music here.
The state. Oh Lord, there goes the clean rating. All right, so the and we're just standing at the back, and then all of a sudden, Lance starts blowing through his horn, and then just like burp. And then and it was the first burp that Chris and I both just lost it. And we were laughing as hard as we could, except we were laughing in complete silence. So we had locked it all in, but we were both someone was shaking us violently. And we ended up actually both of us together. So I wish I had video of this, sliding down the back wall such that we were then sitting with our knees up against the back wall, and there are tears streaming down both of our faces as the sack of knick-knack piece just kept on going. So
it was long.
That was
it's like don't laugh at a funeral kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was just a good stop.
It was, and I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but I was. Hey, I have another good Jens Banff story. When I was there the following summer, I think it was, or maybe actually it was the previous summer to for the brass thing, when Joe Alessi was there, and we were going out to Lake Louise, and Joe wanted to drive Jens's Porsche, and so Joe was like, "Hitz, you're with me." I was like, "Yeah, I am. I don't want to ride on the small school bus with everybody else." So Jens told him, he said, "Joe, you can drive the Porsche, but do not pass me. Follow me there." And so Joe was like, "Yeah, no problem." And so so Joe actually stayed behind him for the first 10 minutes, and then he goes, and he looks at me with this look in his eyes, and he goes, "All right, Hitz, watch his face." And then he moved over and he punched it, and we went by him at 95 miles an hour. And Jens was just steaming mad. He's flipping Joe the bird. Joe's laughing hysterically. That was a moment. So yeah, that was good times. Yeah, that we used Jens's own Porsche to piss him off. And Jens was like, "I knew I shouldn't let you drive that." He's like, "But what do you do when Joe Alessi says, 'Can I drive your Porsche?' You say yes. God damn it." So yeah, there you go. So are we? Where are we doing on time here? Do we segue into the Jens? Yeah, I think speaking of, that might as well. So speaking of Jens, he's been going through some serious chop problems for a while now. 80 weeks. No, more than 80 double weeks, 160 weeks.
This will be 85, 170 weeks. Poor guy.
So, jeepers. So what advice might you have for you're a very cerebral dude. You're grounded. You're from the back roads of Saskatchewan. So I think that you can maybe connect with him on a Canadian level here. So what advice would you give to Jens in this time of need?
I would say he could probably use a trip back to Banff and go to the hot springs for the afternoon, and have a nice soak, so he could, sweat out the bad and inhale.
Sweat out the bad. I like that.
Inhale the good, and he could then, maybe grab a poutine at the Banff Springs Hotel. Follow that.
Ain't nothing curds and gravy don't fix.
Follow that up with a delicious Mott's Clamato Caesar. To make sure that his sodium intake is extremely high, and hope for the best.
There you go.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's 2 episodes in a row. Someone suggested dunking him in water. Gould said to drop him in the ocean and have him swim to shore.
That's right. I forgot that. That's right. Yeah, because we were talking about the feeling of drowning, earlier in the episode, which seemed to excite Gould a little too much. So, there you go. Sweat out the bad. I like it.
Sweat out the bad. I'm going to write that in the show notes.
No
reference.
Seems like that'd make that'd make a good.
Sweat out the bad.
That would make a good album title, right? Sweat out the bad.
Sweat out the bad.
Yeah. Have like a sweaty brass quintet sitting in a sweat lodge somewhere. With no shirts on.
Maybe not so much.
Albums don't sell anyways. At this point, you can just have fun. I mean, really, like you're going to sell 8 copies of your brass quintet album, and like 4 of them are going to be your mother. So
That's
it's
right.
like, at this point, you can just go for the art. You really don't have to worry about commercial viability at all. Well, there you go. Well, Lance, do we have anything for the?
I don't know, anything you want to plug, Tom? What sites you want us to put in the show notes?
I've got my own website, tommccaslin.com.
On it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The orchestra just launched a better YouTube channel. So they're doing this live stream initiative. So a lot of our main concerts are being live streamed, and then you can check those out on YouTube now.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that Detroit's doing that a lot. I love the orchestras that are doing that. So
yeah.
Perfect. We'll put a link to that up there too.
Cool. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, I've got for the bonus episode coming up. I don't think you've heard this story, Tom. I've got the most memorable moment that I ever had in a Sam lesson, but it's a little spicy. So I saved it for the bonus episode. So,
excellent.
But, you're gonna like it. So, but we're gonna have Tom hang on here, and we're gonna dig a little bit deeper with him for the bonus episode. And I think with anything else, Lance?
No further ado.
No more ado. All right. Well, Tom, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I'm so happy for all your success. And can't wait to see what's next for you.
Yeah, my pleasure, eh?
Yeah. Poutine and A. And man. I like it.
Ambassador, yeah.
You are an ambassador, except you're not on the $10
that's
bill.
Our second ambassador.
That is our second ambassador. Yeah. So anyway, all right. That is going to do it for another episode of The Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram, and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/PrayForJens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.